News Center. Now, despite the efforts put in place to eradicate the practice of female genital mutilation, many girls are still subjected to the cut. However, the government and stakeholders are working together to ensure FGM is eradicated by the year 2030. As Kenyans join the world in celebrating the International Day, our reporter Oise Catherine spoke to survivors of FGM and shared their contribution to the war. Take a look.
Several communities in the country are still mutilating their girls despite the danger facing the girls themselves. Some communities maintain that it is a tradition and culture that has been passed down through the generations. However, the government and non-governmental organizations have not given up hope. Of significance is, as the government and non-governmental organizations say, our journey to determine the answer to the issue is anchored in the county of Narok, the city of Suswa. A calm morning. The rays of the sun marking the beginning of a new day in Suswa Mountain. As the saying goes, a good day seen at sunrise. At 6 o'clock in the morning, we arrive at Naomi's house. We find her ready to milk her cow, which is enough proof that she is a hard worker. After milking, Naomi returns home to prepare her son for school. Naomi was circumcised when she was in standard 8.
Kwa sababu wazazi wangu walijua mimi ni muoga. Na pia mama alikuwa anajua mimi sipendi ukeketaji. Nilipewa ulinzi mkali. Walichukua nguvu na wakanitoa mavazi yote. Kulikuwa na wasichana wengi hapo na wamama. Nikaona kweli mimi ninatayarishwa. Mama ameshachukua wembe, ameanza kunikata. Mimi kwa uoga yangu niliruka juu, nilisimama.
She narrates the pain she went through after being cut and how her dream of becoming an athlete was shattered.
Nikasikia kama kuna kitu imeanguka, kumbe ni mguu ilikosa nguvu. So niliendelea hivyo. Sasa nilikuwa naona wanafunzi wakikimbia, nalia. Naona wakicheza netball wakiendelea, wakienda to other levels like provisionals nini, nalia. Mimi si mtu unaweza fanya drama. Mimi si mwimbaji niingie music. The only talent I had ilikuwa ni ya kukimbia na kucheza mpira. Na hiyo talent yote iliishia hapo. Mimi nikabaki sasa nikijiuliza maishani mwangu nitafanya nini?
Things are not different for the home of Lilian Sarun, a mother of 6 children. She is the defender of the girl child in this village of Inkoirienito. Mama Sarun is one of those who embrace the tradition and culture. She changed her view on the practice and took a new direction. So far, she has rescued 3 girls.
Zamani nilikuwa napenda na nilikuwa nasema tukiongea na watoto wangu naambia lazima mkeketwe. Lakini kuna vile nasema kwa sababu ilikuwa mila na mimi maisha yangu haikuenda vizuri. Mimi niliolewa na mzee sana ambaye ako na bibi 10 kwa sababu ya hiyo ukeketaji. Nilioleka nikiwa na miaka 16. Saa hii nafundisha wasichana. Niko na group ambayo tumeanzisha ya wasichana. Tukiwa pamoja na kampuni ambayo nimeongelesha wasichana wenye wamekeketwa na wenye hawajakeketwa. Tukakuwa group moja. Na niko na wamama kama 3. Tunashikana na wao, tunaingia kwa boma kusaidia wale wasichana ambao hawajajua haki zao, hawajajua ukeketaji ni mbaya.
Elders, mothers and young people in this area now speak the same language. Their gospel for the members of the community is to bury the tradition of female genital mutilation. The chief of Eno Supukia location, Suswa East Sub-County in Narok County, Dansen Saruni, has confirmed that he has received many reports of girls being cut and forced to early marriages.
Tunaelezea kwamba not necessarily ukeketwe uwe mtu mzima, lakini unapatiwa hiyo transition from kwa mtoto mpaka mtu mzima, na tunapatia certificates kuonyesha kwamba wamehitimu kuwa wale watu wakubwa, na ile jamii pia wanakubali ya kwamba these kids wamekuwa wakubwa sasa, sio watoto tena.
Oise Catherine, KTN News, Narok County.
All right, from that story from Catherine, we go on with a discussion this morning on breaking the silence of FGM. And from the Lillian story and the like, are there girls who end up undergoing the cut because of societal pressure? Like, as much as you know that it's wrong, because of societal pressure, according to AMREF, maybe you've done your research and found out that the girls who do it because the society just wants you to do it.
Exactly. So there's a social coercion that takes place because female genital mutilation is a practice that is a social norm. Social norm means that the girl will feel like she is expected to conform to societal expectations, and also there is the other way around. The society expects this girl also to conform to those norms, and these norms are beliefs. Most of the time they're informal and they're unwritten. So it is just how this girl grows up and she's socialized to believe that FGM is the way she needs to go. So a lot of girls are coerced to get into the FGM space. And as we were also discussing during the break, for the girls that some of the communities, for instance, the Kikuyu and even the Kipsigis or the Kalenjin, who escaped the cut when they were younger, and they are now grown-up women, they've gotten married, they've gone into tertiary education, they've gone into universities, they're working, and then they're married into, maybe a man from the same communities. Something changes and something shifts, and the social coercion begins to play a role again. So you find that the woman who's married to this man, there might be husband pressure coming in at some point in their lives, and this is evidenced by some of the research we did during the 2007-2008 post-election violence amongst the Kipsigis. The pressure for the man to fit within the space of other male elders. So this man, because he's not fitting there because he's said to be married to a child, it means that he has to go back and begin to put pressure on his wife to get cut. So the coercion plays a role in different ways. So there are girls also who are in school and they see other girls who are cut. They start to call them particular names which are derogatory. So at some point the girl just decides, you know what, I need to just fit, I need to conform, so that they stop abusing me or insulting me. So that's how social coercion and pressure plays a role.
Denita, as much as the country is planning to eradicate FGM by 2030, a vision there, do you think it can be eradicated 100%? Because during the break we had, we were told by Tamari that sometimes it recurs. It just recurs. You guys may think that it's over, but after a few years, people want it back. Do you think it can really be eradicated completely, not only in Kenya, but also across the world?
You see, we have 6 years to 2030. Now, whether these 6 years, FGM can be eradicated fully, remains to be seen. But what we in the FGM, campaign, anti-FGM campaign, world, think about is really those concerted efforts. We have done so much. Let me tell you, we have no shortage of laws. We have no shortage of laws that actually are against FGM. Completely no. We have enough laws. Where there is a disconnect is the implementation. As I've told you, what we have not seen really much happen is the prosecution. How do we see, perpetrators being prosecuted? We have not seen much around that topic. Who is supposed to prosecute? Is it the anti-FGM? And that's what we were saying. If we give power, even to the anti-FGM board, because that is a board that literally handles FGM cases in this country, how do we ensure that we strengthen the FGM board to be able even to prosecute? To be able to say, this is it, because as it is now, the anti-FGM board is a body that is just there to, it is a body seated there to think, and you see again they also have to plea again to the judiciary or to whoever to prosecute. Now we need to strengthen the anti-FGM board in terms of funding, in terms of giving it power to even prosecute, offenders of this, sexual, acts, FGM, especially. We have seen deliberate efforts, actually. And I speak because I served both in President Uhuru's regime and the current regime. We want to see the president continuously declaring FGM a national disaster. The moment he declares FGM a national disaster, the same way we are asking him to declare femicide a national disaster, then he needs to also, again, show the country what efforts his office is doing is putting in place to address issues of FGM. We cannot just say, oh, FGM is there and we want communities to stop. What is we want to hear that from the office of the president. We want to hear that from his mouth, because he has shown that he can actually work, but we want to see more efforts from him coming down. We want to see situations where we are hearing cases of prosecutors being, of offenders of this being prosecuted, and we want to see these organizations, because let me tell you, I've been in the FGM world for almost a decade now, over a decade, and I can tell you for sure that donors are also fatigued. Donors are fatigued on FGM issues. That one we cannot tell you, oh, NGOs are there doing what. If we do not have coordinated efforts, very soon donors are going to pull away. And they say that is now your issue. Because donors are, every day they say, this is an issue, you cannot change culture overnight. Donors have been there overnight. All these years, donors have been there pumping money into FGM work. What is it that is not working? What is it that we can now say as a country, if donors are to pull out tomorrow, how are we going to handle this FGM matter ourselves? That means strengthening the NGO board. That means ensuring that the judiciary actually basically prosecute offenders. We want to see records where even on the floor of the House, you literally seeing even at that, and that's what we were saying. How do we ensure that we look at the laws that exist, even as members of parliament, look at the laws that already exist, the SGBV, the Sexual Offences Act, because FGM is a Sexual Offences Act issue. It is captured under the Sexual Offences Act of 2006. And then how do we ensure that even within the Sexual Offences Act, even if it means reviewing the Sexual Offences Act to ensure that prosecutors of FGM basically are even castrated, or a law, a serious thing that can come. These laws that we have put in place, you see, they're not working. How do we ensure that, apart from ensuring that we have policies and laws and what else do we need to do? Do we need to review the laws that already exist to ensure that now FGM as a law is seriously taken into account? And those are the things that, for me, I'm saying. I am not seeing FGM getting eradicated in the next 6 years that we have. It is, and when something is a cultural issue, it just doesn't, you don't wake up today and say, now it has died. It continues. Today you might see it has gone to 15%, 14%, then the next, it has gone up to 20%. How do we sustain this momentum that we have already started, that we already have to, to continue in the communities where we come from? Right now, as we speak, every county, by law, is required, because Kenya has a national policy, anti-FGM policy, nationally, from the Ministry of Gender. Now, when you go down to the counties, the 47 counties are supposed to actually develop what we're calling the SGBV policies. And those SGBV policies include the anti-FGM policies. How many counties in this country have those policies? Or they're just, even those counties that have them, they're just pieces of paper just put in their shelves in the counties. Either because they also don't have a good qualified staff. Counties just employ somebody, just employing, don't understand what they're supposed to do. How do we implement those policies? And those policies are what have captured even FGM in those policies. So we have a lot to do. I'm not being pessimistic, but I'm saying we have a lot to do still to put together all these efforts that we have put together. For us as members of parliament, from the legislative side, we have no shortage of laws. Now, where there is a lacuna is this implementation. How do we ensure that implementation really works? How do we ensure that? That is where the problem is.
All right, Tamari, maybe your thoughts on that as well.
Yes, I just wanted to add that we need to also be cognizant of the changing social, cultural, economic, and environmental issues. Because as much as we are making progress, and actually Kenya is one of the countries that has made steady progress with regards to decline in prevalence, which means government, stakeholders are working very well to push the eradication of FGM. But when COVID-19 hit, everything changed, because when the girls were at home, schools had been closed, rescue centers were closed, there was restricted movement, So even when the girls were at risk, they couldn't move, they couldn't go to hospitals, they couldn't go to report at the police stations. We saw an increase in the number of girls that were exposed to FGM during the COVID-19 pandemic. Currently, we are also seeing the impact of climate change to gender equality and also to practices such as FGM. One of the research we published in AMREF 2 years ago, we saw that climate change had impacted the Maasai community in a way that it exposed more girls to FGM and to child marriage. Because what it does, similarly to COVID, it affects livelihoods. So when families are unable to continue providing for themselves, it means that they begin to look at the girl as a source of income. So if they're thinking about selling off the girl for marriage, then it means she has to be exposed to FGM, then child marriage takes place. So research is important because research gives us the data that we need to see emerging issues and see all these associations so that we can really put context-specific relevant interventions to end FGM. So these are some of the things that we are seeing. And the gap that Heshimiwa is talking about law enforcement. The issues of capacity are really important, which we see also in research. What's the capacity of law enforcers? Do they really even understand those laws? Secondly, when this girl comes to report or is taken to the health facility, the capacity of healthcare provider to collect the relevant evidence, because for a successful prosecution to take place, the evidence has to be there, the witnesses have to be there, and these are people from the same communities, which means people will refuse or will fear to come and witness or testify against, a happening. So we have those gaps within the law enforcement that needs to be tackled to ensure that we protect our girls.
Before we wrap up, there is this the reconstruction surgery to repair, if I could quote unquote, womanhood. Does that depend on the stage of or the type of FGM that you underwent?
Do you know, it's very interesting because it doesn't really depend on the type of FGM. Of course, there is the more severe type of FGM that I mentioned, type 3, which necessitates some kind of corrective surgery, especially depending on how tight the vaginal opening is. Because when it's so tight, it means even passing urine, passing menses, becomes a problem. In the future, this girl is married, having sexual intercourse is a big problem. When she's pregnant and she needs to deliver, the opening has to be done. So we have procedures called de-infibulation, which undoes the infibulation that has taken place, just to make those physiological processes easier for the woman and to avoid more complications. But there's also the increasing, the recent procedures that take place, like the clitoral reconstructive surgeries that take place. And one of the first things that we saw when we did the first clitoral reconstructive surgeries in Kenya, all women of all types of FGM showed up and they were like, I need to be fixed. I need my clitoris back. And why I'm saying it's not really related to the type is because even women with type 1, even women with only the prepuce removed, were coming to say, I need my womanhood back. So it's something that relates to their mental health, and they feel like, if only I can get this fixed, then I'll be okay. So a lot of the women that actually we had to work with after that time is women who went for the initial assessment and they were told, no, you are not a candidate for reconstructive surgeries. Everything is practically there, maybe just a few things are missing. And they were very disappointed. Yeah.
All right, maybe as we close, Denita, maybe your parting shot in regards to eradicating FGM in the country.
I just want to say that we are on the right track as a country, relatively. We need to coordinate, have these coordinated efforts to ending FGM. And I'm a very strong believer that for us to also end FGM amongst our girls, then we must just get our girls into schools. The moment girls go to school and get an education, it is easier for us to also softly be able to eradicate FGM.
All right, Tamiri, 10 seconds.
Yeah, my final word would be integration of FGM into different development sectors. Like she's saying, into education, into the health sectors, working with healthcare providers, into agriculture to support women empowerment in economic activities. So integrating FGM into the broader developmental sectors, I think, is really important.
All right. Thank you so much, ladies, for sparing time for us here. And that is why we wrap up KTN News Center this Wednesday. Thank you so much for keeping me company. My name is Grace Nganga. I'll see you later on at 1 p.m. for KTN News Desk. See you then.